There are 5 things you only do when you're completely alone. And if you do even 3 of them, your brain is wired in a way psychologists say less than 2% of people will ever experience. Real intelligence almost never shows up in public. It hides. It whispers. It works the night shift inside your own head. When nobody's clapping, nobody's grading, nobody's even watching. Stay with me to number 5. That one rewires how you see your own company forever. Let me tell you about a woman named Naomi. She's 32, lives in Bushwick, works in publishing. It's 2:47 in the morning, and she's the last person left in a Brooklyn coffee shop, wiping down a table nobody asked her to wipe. She's not sad. She's not lonely. She's, actually, in the middle of one of the strangest things a human mind can do. She's rewriting the meaning of a sentence her mother said to her 15 years ago. Not the words, the meaning. And halfway through the wipe, she stops because she just realized something that had been sitting there, unnoticed, for a decade and a half. And that quiet, unremarkable moment at 2 in the morning, that's where intelligence actually lives. Not on a test, not in a meeting. Here, in the wet rag and the empty room and the mind that finally caught up to itself. So here are the 5 things you only do when you're completely alone, that quietly tell psychologists your mind belongs to the 2%. Sign 1. You sit with a question that has no answer, and you actually enjoy it. Most people, when they run into a question they can't solve, do one of 3 things. They Google it, they text somebody, or they just decide. They pick an answer, any answer, and move on. Because uncertainty feels the way holding your breath feels. It burns. But you do the opposite. You keep the question open. You turn it around. You let it sit there for a day, a week, sometimes a whole month, and you don't rush to close it. Psychologists call this epistemic patience, and it's rare, genuinely rare. The average mind hates uncertainty the way your body hates holding its breath. Yours treats it like a puzzle worth living inside. That's not indecision. That's not procrastination. That's intellectual gravity. You already know something the fast thinkers don't. The answer you sit with for a week is almost always a better answer than the one you grabbed in 90 seconds. Sign 2. You argue against your own beliefs. For fun. Most people build a belief and then defend it like it's a house they can't afford to lose. You built the house yourself, and now you're checking the foundation. In your head, when nobody's around, you ask, what if I'm wrong about this? What would the smartest person who disagrees with me say? And then you actually try to say it. Well, not badly. Darwin did this. He kept a notebook he literally titled Facts Against My Theory. Every observation that contradicted evolution, he wrote it down and stared at it on purpose. Einstein did this too. He said the best thinkers weren't the ones with the most answers. They were the ones willing to be publicly wrong more often than everybody else. Psychologists call it active self-opposition. And it's almost extinct because it requires something most people just can't tolerate. The possibility that the thing they built their identity around might actually be wrong. You can tolerate it. That's not self-doubt. That's intellectual courage. Here's the number that shocked me when I first read it. A study back in 2014 asked people to sit alone in a room. No phone, no book, no distractions. For just 15 minutes. 67% of the men and a quarter of the women preferred to give themselves an actual electric shock rather than sit alone with their own thoughts. Read that again. 2/3. Electric shock. Over their own mind. If any of this is landing, do me a favor. Tap subscribe. This channel is for the 2%, and I want to keep making these for you. And before I go into sign 3, there's something you need to hear. Because sign 3 is where most of you get quietly ashamed of yourselves for no reason. Sign 3. When something hurts, you don't react to it. You study it. Something bad happens. Somebody says something that stings. You get an email at 4 p.m. that ruins your afternoon. Most people, in that moment, do the human thing. They feel it. They act on it. They vent. They eat something. They scroll. You do something weirder. You watch it. You watch the feeling like a scientist watching a chemical reaction. Where is this hitting? Is this actually about the email? Or is it about something the email reminded me of? What's the specific texture of it? Anger? or something under the anger. Psychologists have a name for that texture. They call it emotional granularity. It's the ability to identify exactly what you're feeling. Not just bad or upset, but the specific weight of it. Wounded versus embarrassed versus tired, that looks like anger. And people who have it genuinely have it recover from painful things faster than people who don't. Not because they feel less, because they see more. And here's something you need to hear, that voice in your head. The one that sometimes says you're too much, too quiet, too inside your own head. You should just be normal like everybody else. That voice isn't yours. It got placed there by years of being told that being social equals being happy. By people who, honestly, are afraid of solitude themselves. Because when you're alone and quiet, there's nowhere to hide from yourself. Most people would rather stay loud. Sign 4. You rewrite your own past. Not the events, the meaning. This one is my favorite because you probably don't even know you do it. You'll be washing dishes or driving home from work or halfway through folding laundry, and out of nowhere, a memory from 10 years ago pops up, and you look at it and you go, oh, that's what that was actually about. You didn't change the memory. The dinner with your dad, the fight with your ex, the thing your 4th grade teacher said in front of the whole class. It all happened exactly the way it happened. But the meaning shifted. What used to feel like rejection now looks like fear. What used to look like cruelty now looks like somebody in pain who didn't know how to say so. Psychologists call this cognitive flexibility, but I like the way one writer put it better. It's like editing a novel that keeps getting better every draft. And here's the thing. Most people freeze their past. They lock a story down at 12 years old and drag it around for the next 40 years. You keep updating. You keep going back in, quietly, without telling anyone, and asking, what did I miss? That's how you become one of those rare people who never really carries the same wound twice. Sign 5. You enjoy your own mind as company. Not tolerate. Enjoy. There's a difference, and you already know it. Most people, if you take away their phone and their playlist and their podcast, get restless in about 90 seconds. The silence feels like an accusation. You go for a walk with no headphones and it feels like a luxury. You drive home from work in silence and it feels like a small vacation. You spend an hour, sometimes 2, just thinking about nothing in particular, and the world thinks you're bored. You know you're the exact opposite of bored. Psychologists have a term for this, autonomous cognitive engagement, which is a fancy way of saying your own mind is enough. Add in something else they call a postconventional mind, a moral compass that's genuinely internal, not just a reaction to what everybody else expects. And you get something that's almost extinct in 2026. You become the rarest kind of person in a world addicted to noise. Somebody who can actually hear themselves think. Here's the reframe. These 5 habits: sitting with questions, arguing against yourself, studying your feelings, rewriting your past, and enjoying your own mind. They don't make you smarter than other people. They make you legible to yourself. That's the difference. In a world where most people never meet themselves, meeting yourself isn't nothing. So, 3 things to do this week if you want to keep the 2% alive. 1. Pick a question you can answer and don't answer it for 7 days. Not a big one. Something small. Why does that one song still hit? Why did that comment your mom made bother you so much? Sit with it. Notice what surfaces on day 3, on day 5. That's epistemic patience. You can train it. 2. Once this week, write down a belief you hold. Anything, political, personal, professional. And then write the smartest possible argument against it. Not a straw man. The real one. Just for you. Just for practice. 3. This is the biggest one. Take one 30-minute walk this week with no phone, no podcast, no music, nothing. Just you and your mind and the sound of your own footsteps. Then notice. Did you feel bored or did you feel found? That answer tells you almost everything about which 2% you belong to. And Naomi? The woman wiping the table in Brooklyn at 2:47 in the morning? What her mother had actually said 15 years ago wasn't cruel. It was scared, and Naomi only saw that at 2 in the morning. alone, with a wet rag in her hand and no witnesses. That's the whole thing. That's the whole video. That is what your kind of intelligence does. Quietly, at strange hours, when nobody's watching. Tell me in the comments. Which sign hit hardest? 1, 3, or 5? I read them. Every single one. See you in the next one.